You walk into a reptile expo. You see two ball pythons sitting side by side in identical tubs, same species, same size, same age. One has a price tag of $40. The other? $10,000. Same snake, different genetics. And that difference, that's everything. If you've ever wondered why ball python prices range from the cost of a pizza to the cost of a used car, you're about to get the full breakdown. This isn't just about pretty colors, it's about genetics, rarity, breeding strategy, supply and demand, and sometimes years of patience and investment. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why some ball pythons are worth more than others, and more importantly, how breeders and investors think about value in this market. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Tier 1, $40, $100, normals and basic morphs. At the entry level, you've got your normal ball pythons. These are wild-type animals, brown and black patterning, beautiful in their own right, but genetically, there's nothing rare happening here. You can pick one up for $40 to $60 at most expos. They're widely available, they breed easily. Supply is massive. Demand? Mostly from first-time reptile owners or people who just want a pet snake. Now, just above normals, you've got your basic single-gene dominant morphs. Pastel, pinstripe, enchi, Mojave. Spider, though spider comes with wobble issues, so many breeders avoid it now. These morphs have been around for decades. They were groundbreaking in the 90s and early 2000s, but today they're everywhere. A pastel ball python might run you $60 to $100 depending on quality and the breeder. Why so cheap? Supply. These genes have been circulating in the market for so long that almost every breeder has them. Breeding a pastel to a normal gives you 50% pastels in the clutch. Easy, predictable, no mystery. And because they're so common, the market is saturated. You're not paying for rarity here. You're paying for a healthy animal and maybe some nice color. But here's the thing. Even though these morphs are cheap as individuals, they're incredibly valuable as breeding tools. A pastel might only be worth $75 on its own, but breed it into a clown project, and suddenly you're producing pastel clowns worth $500 to $1,000 each. So beginners often start here, not because the snake itself is worth a lot, but because it's a stepping stone into more advanced projects. You'll also see combos in this range. Pastel enchi, pinstripe Mojave, orange dream butter. These are two gene combinations. And they start to show more visual pop. Brighter colors, cleaner patterns. You're paying a bit more, maybe $100 to $250, but you're still in beginner-friendly territory. The genetics are simple. The outcome is predictable. And honestly, a lot of these combos look just as good as snakes that cost 5 times more. They just don't have the rarity factor yet. Tier 2, $250, $500, entry investment morphs. Now we're entering the zone where people start thinking like breeders, not just pet owners. This is where you see het clowns, het pieds, and desert ghost projects. Let's talk about hets for a second, because this is critical. Het stands for heterozygous. It means the snake is carrying one copy of a recessive gene, but it doesn't visually express it. A het clown looks like a normal ball python. But if you breed 2 het clowns together, statistically, you'll get 25% visual clowns in the clutch. And visual clowns? They're worth a lot more. So when you buy a het clown for $250 to $400, you're not buying what you see. You're buying genetic potential. You're buying the ability to produce something valuable down the line. That's the investment mindset. You're playing the long game. Same logic applies to het pied, het DG, desert ghost, and similar projects. These animals might look plain, but their genetic value is significant. Breeders will pay $300 to $500 for a proven het, especially if it's also carrying a visible gene like pastel or enchi. A pastel het clown is more valuable than a normal het clown because you're stacking genes. You're setting yourself up for higher-end combos in future. generations. Then you've got morphs like lesser and butter in this range, which are part of the blue-eyed leucistic bell complex. Breed two together, and you can produce an all-white snake with blue eyes. Bells themselves can go for $1,500 to $3,000, depending on the combo. So a butter for $300, that's your entry ticket into that project. You also start seeing cleaner versions of existing genes. A really nice enchi with bold blushing might be $400 instead of $100, just because of the visual quality. Same gene, but better expression. Breeders care about that. Pet buyers might not notice, but someone building a line, they absolutely do. Tier 3, $500, $1,000, intermediate breeding projects. Here's where things get more serious. You're now looking at visual recessives, rare combos, and developing morphs that haven't fully saturated the market yet. Visual clowns sit in this range, $500 to $1,000 depending on the combo and the breeder. A single gene clown is beautiful, reduced pattern, bold head stamps, clean sides. But a clown combined with something like pastel or enchi. Now you're talking about $800 to $1,200, sometimes more. Same with genetic stripe GS. It's a recessive that creates a clean dorsal stripe instead of the typical ball python pattern. A normal GS might be $600. Add in pastel or yellow belly, and you're over $1,000. Axanthics fall here too. These are snakes that lack yellow pigment, black, white, and grey only. They're visually striking and relatively rare compared to basics. A quality axanthic will run you $600 to $900, but stack it with other genes, say axanthic clown or axanthic GHI, and now you're producing something that could sell for several thousand. Breeders in this price range are usually a few years into the hobby. They understand genetics. They know how to predict outcomes. And they're starting to think about brand reputation and quality, not just quantity. This is where you move from, I want a cool snake, to I'm building a business. Another morph you'll see here is banana and coral glow. Two names for the same gene, depending on who first produced it. It's a codominant gene that lightens the snake and adds bright purple and pink hues. Visually, it's one of the most popular genes in the hobby. A male banana might be $500. A female, closer to $1,000, because females produce the next generation and are rarer in banana lines due to sex-linked quirks in breeding ratios. You've also got combos like Firefly, Fire plus Pastel, Killer Blast, Pastel plus Spider plus Pinstripe, and similar designer names. These aren't rare genetically anymore, but they look great and they sell consistently. They're the middle-class morphs of the ball python world. Affordable for hobbyists, useful for breeders, and consistent in the market. Tier 4, $1,000 to $500, advanced morph combinations. Now we're stepping into serious money. We're talking multi-gene animals that combine rare recessives with high-end dominance, or visual expressions of genes that are still hard to produce consistently. Let's talk about Monsoon. It's a relatively new morph, and it's gorgeous. High contrast, clean pattern reduction, almost metallic appearance in some examples. Because it's newer and supply is still limited, Monsoons command premium prices. A visual Monsoon can easily be $1,500 to $3,000. Add in another gene like clown or pied, and you're well over $5,000. Zebra is another one. It's not well understood genetically, and it's extremely hard to reproduce. The pattern is wild, almost tiger-like in some cases. Because of that unpredictability and rarity, zebras sit in the $2,000 range, sometimes more depending on the line. You've also got high-end piebald combos here. A normal pied might be $1,000 to $1,500, but a pied combined with clown, GE, or monsoon. Now you're creating something that looks like a work of art. Clean white base, bold head, minimal pattern interruption. Breeders and collectors will pay top dollar for these. And here's where things get really strategic. At this level, it's not just about having the morph. It's about having the right bloodline. Two breeders might both produce a pied clown, but one might have cleaner genetics, better feeding response, more consistent results across clutches. Reputation matters, proven lines matter. That's why you'll sometimes see the same morph listed at wildly different prices. It's not just the snake, it's the breeder behind it. Let's also talk about bell combos in this range. A blue-eyed leucistic produced from Lesser X Mojave might be $1,800. One from Butter X Russo could be $2,500, especially if it's a female. The genetics are the same. White snake, blue eyes. But the pathway to get there, and the future projects you can do with it, shift the value. This is also where you start seeing lavender albinos, another recessive that's still relatively rare. They're pinkish lavender with bright yellow and very light eyes. Stunning animals. A lavender albino by itself, about $1,200 to $2,000. Combine it with pied or clown, and you're easily over $4,000. Tier 5, $2,510. 0+, elite designer, snakes, and ultra exclusives. We're now in the realm of serious investment animals. These are snakes that most hobbyists will never own, but that breeders dream about adding to their collections. Pompeii is one example. It's a line-bred trait, meaning it wasn't a single mutation, but rather selectively bred over many generations to enhance specific visual traits. The result is a ball python with insane pattern and color intensity, almost glowing in some cases. A good Pompeii can run you $3,000 to $4,000. And because it's line-bred, the genetics aren't simple. You can't just breed two of them and expect perfect results. It takes knowledge, patience, and experience. You've also got stuff like scaleless. Yes, ball pythons with no scales, just smooth skin. They're controversial in some circles due to potential health concerns, but they're undeniably unique. A scaleless ball python will cost you upwards of $4,000. Add morphs into it. Scaleless banana, scaleless pied, and the price skyrockets even more. Sunset ball pythons also fall into this range. Another line-bred morph with incredible orange and red tones. They look like a living sunset. Depending on the quality and the breeder, you're paying $3,000 to $5,000. And because they're line-bred, consistent reproduction is hard. That rarity drives the price up and keeps it there. Now let's talk about the $10,000 plus tier. This is where we enter the top 1% of the market. We're talking about ultra-rare combos that took years to produce, or brand new morphs that only a handful of breeders are working with. Let's say you combine monsoon, clown, and pied. That's a 3-gene visual recessive combo with a newer dominant gene on top. The odds of producing that are slim. The visual result? Reptiqing. You're looking at $7,000 to $10,000, easy. Or take a lavender albino pied clown. 3 recessive genes stacked into one animal. The amount of time, money, and breeding strategy that goes into producing that is enormous. You'd need to start with het lavender, het pied, het clown animals, probably multiple generations deep. And even then, the odds of hitting all 3 visuals in one snake are something like 1 in 64 statistically. When it finally happens, that snake is worth $8,000 or more, and it should be. It represents years of work. Same with things like stranger combos. Stranger is a newer gene that creates wild aberrations and color shifts. Combine stranger with existing high-end morphs like GHI, Orange Dream, or Leopard, and you're producing animals that don't even look like ball pythons anymore. They look like something out of a sci-fi movie. Those animals can command $6,000 to $9,000, depending on the exact combo and the market at that time. Imagine a scaleless pied clown monsoon. 4 insane traits in one snake. It's smooth, it's white, it's high contrast, it's mind-blowing to look at. An animal like that could sell for $15,000 or more. Maybe 20, maybe more if it's a female and proven. So why does the same species range from $40 to over $10,000? It all comes down to genetics, rarity, and market dynamics. A normal ball python is common, everywhere, no scarcity. A scaleless pied-clowned monsoon? That might be one of 3 in the entire world. Scarcity drives value. But here's the beautiful and sometimes brutal truth about this market. Nothing stays expensive forever. The $10,000 snake today could be the $1,500 snake in 5 years. Why? Because breeders produce more. Supply increases. The morph becomes more available. Hype fades. New morphs emerge and take the spotlight. I've seen it happen over and over. Clowns used to be $2,000 for a normal visual. Now they're $600. Pieds used to be $5,000. Now a basic pied is under $2. The market evolves. And smart breeders understand that. For beginners, my advice is this. Don't feel like you need to buy the most expensive snake to get into breeding. Start with a solid project animal. A het clown. A pastel enchi. A proven gene that you can build around. Learn the genetics. Understand the market. Be patient. And if you're someone who just wants a beautiful pet, you can get an incredible-looking ball python for $300. A banana pastel or a firefly will blow your mind visually. But if you're in this for the investment, for the breeding, for the long game, then yes, sometimes it makes sense to spend $5,000 on the right animal, because that animal might produce $50,000 worth of babies over the next few years. The ball python market is one of the most fascinating intersections of biology, economics, and art that I've ever seen. It's a living, breathing marketplace where supply and demand shift constantly, where new morphs rise and fall, where a single clutch can change a breeder's life. Whether you're spending $40 or $40,000, you're participating in something bigger, a global community of people obsessed with genetics, beauty, and the endless possibilities hidden inside these incredible animals. Thanks for watching.